Hi everyone! So today we are going to work on some unique painting techniques. So thank you for watching and I hope you enjoy. All right everyone, so my first experimental watercolors that I created at home was actually from a beet that I've been growing in my garden. So I grabbed the beet, cut it in half, and I had to kind of scoop out a little bit of the inside to get the juices from it. But then it actually has this really beautiful reddish pink color. So I got my brush wet and I moved it around inside of the beet. And look at that, it almost looks identical to watercolors. It's amazing. And just remember, the less amount of water, the darker the pigment is going to be. And for this larger area, you're going to put the darkest pigment. And then you can kind of decide where you want to put the mid-tone, and then you're going to have a highlight as well. So remember, the more water, the lighter your color will be. And for this project, you should have at least 8 different sections for different types of materials to use. So if you want to get creative and finding different things that will create colors, you can do that. If you come to the last couple boxes and you just can't think of any others, feel free to just use your watercolors if you have them at home. I grabbed food coloring, and this was actually a great way to make some at-home watercolors because now you have more variety of colors, so you can mix those as well. So for the food coloring, I used green, and I actually had some of these palettes at home, but if you do not have palettes, you can use plastic containers. Sometimes after I use yogurt, I'll clean out the container and keep that for water or for paint. So we're really going to be getting creative while we're at home and using the things around us. Even wax paper on a plate, or if you have paper plates that have that waxy surface, those are great options for palettes if you don't have one of these at home. So now, same thing with the food coloring, just added a little bit of water to get the darker green. If you want a really dark green, what you could do is mix some blue food coloring. If you wanted to tone down the green and make it not quite as bright, you can always add the complementary color. So if you added a little bit of red, that would tone it down, give it a more neutral kind of brownish look. And for those of you that are experienced with watercolors, I know in intermediate we've used them in class. This is mainly for kind of a creative brain exercise, being able to think of things that would work as watercolors. If we look through art history, we can see a lot of different cultures using things from the earth to create paints. If we look at the Native Americans, they would use the beet roots as well to crush up and use as paint. Different clays have different pigments in them, flowers. So it's pretty fun trying to experiment and just seeing what's around you to use as paint. Okay, so you can see I use the dark, medium, and highlight for the food coloring here. And my last choice was some ground coffee. So I don't have a coffee maker, so what I did was just add hot water to the coffee, let it sit for a little bit. And you can see it still has some of the coffee grounds inside the paint. It gave a pretty cool texture. If you're doing some textured surface where you're painting, you could leave those there. But what I discovered is once it dries, you can actually just kind of push all those little pieces off and they'll fall right off. And the longer you let this sit, the darker it will be. So you can see it's pretty light right now. Layering is a great choice if you want to get that darker value as well. But this one smelled really nice as I was painting. Alright, so a few touch-ups there. You can see I labeled all of my squares with the color. Now I'm going to go back and label what material I used to create that color. So that one was food coloring. This one was coffee. Alright you guys, now that you've seen some experiments of how to create your own watercolors at home, I hope that you'll give it a try, get creative with the things that you use, think outside the box, and you guys are going to do awesome. So I hope you enjoy this, and let me know if you have any questions. Alright guys, have a good night.